So we are starting with something a bit different. It is new. It's a new format that we're going with. And we just thought we'd give it a go. So we have Shvok here this evening, or wherever you are. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. But behind the scenes, we have a lot of gaming conversation in his stream too. And we thought, why not just air some of these conversations without fear of recourse? So Shvok, if you want to take it away and introduce yourself to those in the stream who don't know you.
Yes. Hello. So yeah, I'm Shvok. Long time old school gamer, competitive gamer. By day, I'm a cybersecurity architect here in the US. But I cut my teeth. Basically, competitive multiplayer FPS gaming has kind of always been my thing. Cut my teeth back on the day on Counter-Strike and Unreal Tournament. Then, of course, I found Quake. The original Team Fortress, back when it was a Quake mod, before it even became a standalone game. I've kind of always been... I was a really hyper-competitive Counter-Strike player up until, like, 2009, 2010-ish, somewhere in there. Played in the CEVO tournaments, played in Cal. Made it to Cal I, made it to the team I was on at the time in CEVO. They were CEVO main. And right when I left, they went pro. They went CEVO P back when that existed. And I was really bummed out that I missed out on that opportunity. But it is what it is. And I had a life and I was trying to start a career. Yeah, I love FPS games. I love competitive gaming. I think right now, kind of one of the reasons you invited me onto your new podcast is I think the current state of FPS gaming is abysmal, and I've got a few choice words about it. So it's kind of a summary of who I am.
Yeah, and I thought, give this man, hey, Lady Miss, and Highbury Hazard, and Juicy, aka Nick, has joined the chat. We won't go too far with that. But yeah, one of the reasons I invited you in, well, you know, thought it would be a good idea is because you have a lot of what we like to call, well, it became like a rolling joke, like, oh, hot take, base take, because you come out with, I would say, well, you're going to hate this, but I'd like controversial takes, but like actually like quite bang on, to be honest with you. And I think, because if a game comes out and you've got quite a few that you don't like, you're like, stop, I'm uninstalling it. And you do call it out. I think one of the good things about you is that you're not like, you know, it's not every game is fantastic. Like Unreal Engine 5, call out a lot of the technical issues, should we say, or shortfalls.
Yeah.
And I think that's refreshing. I think if everything's great, then we kind of don't really know. And plus, because of your competitive FPS background, you have a very different perspective on it than I do. So you'll say something like, oh, I didn't even realize that, etc., etc. Like, so you've been streaming a lot of Battlefield 6, because I remember you live streamed the launch and the countdown, and there was a lot of anticipation around that. And interestingly, I saw on Steam that the reviews on that are like mixed. It's like mostly positive / mixed, maybe for the new ones, whereas you had quite a positive take on that. So yeah.
Well, and that just kind of that kind of goes into some of the stuff I'm sure we'll get into later. So Battlefield at the beginning and in the beta, it got review bombed on Steam by all the what a lot of us refer to as like the battle dads, or, you know, Reddit Battlefield players.
Yeah.
Because they were so in the beta, Battlefield 6 in the beta had great movement. It has since been nerfed. And when I say it had great movement, so Battlefield in and of itself is not I would never consider any Battlefield title a movement game, but it did have movement mechanics that required some semblance of skill and mechanical ability to use correctly. Like Battlefield 2, back when Battlefield 2 came out, that had dolphin diving. 1942 kind of had some bunny hopping tech that a lot of people forget about. But I played Battlefield 1942, had some bunny hopping tech in it. It was sluggish, but it worked. But the point is so the beta for Battlefield 6 hits, and there was a bug. And if you knew how to abuse it, it would allow you to crouch slide farther and faster than what the developers intended. And what they did in response to this and the review bombs is on the launch of the game, they over nerfed it. All they had to do was fix the slide bug with it that allowed you to bug it to slide farther than what they intended. But not only did they fix the bug, but then they nerfed what little movement was even there. So there's even less now. Jump peeking, you can kind of jump peek, but not like you could in previous Battlefield titles. So yeah, they really over catered to these FPS players who get a controller in their hand and they come home from a long day at work, and no disrespect to that. I work very long hours myself. I have a full-time job myself, but they come home from a long day of work. They got a controller in their hand and they feel entitled that they should be able to play and frag out and get the same level or sense of accomplishment that people like myself get, but without putting in the work and the effort to get to that level, right? Like, even though I have a full-time job, I've got a career, I'm married, I've got a house, I've got bills, it's a hobby I'm passionate about, and I still find time to perfect my craft and get better. Like, I don't think I'm the best Battlefield or FPS player. I know I'm better than average, right? But I don't think I'm the best, and I'm always learning from the best. Like in Battlefield, people like Focus, Enders, Baranox, I'm constantly VOD reviewing, watching what they're doing, learning from it, and applying that to knowledge that I already have, and then replaying that in game and working on it. And so, yeah, so basically, you got these players who spend all their time, they spend more time on Reddit bitching and complaining about things than they do playing the game. And they have the sense of entitlement that I should be able to kick my feet up on the couch, grab my controller, and play this game and just be amazing at it. And the developers overcame to that crowd by nerfing what little movement was there, adding, like every crossplay game, it's got some level of aim assist, which is stupid. I think crossplay and multiplayer FPS needs to be deleted. It's a stupid idea. And then the whole like keyboard mouse versus controller argument. Here's the thing: if controllers are such a superior input device, why do you need any form of aim assist? You need it because they suck compared to mouse and keyboard. But then what developers do is they implement an overpowered version, and in every case, including Battlefield 6, an overpowered version of aim assist in some form. In Battlefield 6, it's called bullet magnetism. And like, people are void of mechanical skill, but they don't know that. It is the Dunning-Kruger effect. You don't know what you don't know. They have no idea that they don't know mechanical skill because it was built into the game by the developers simply for the input device that they're choosing to use. It tilts me off in ways I can't even begin to describe.
You're getting stressed talking about it. I can tell your heart rate. You're like,
no, well, yeah, because it's insane, because again, people like myself, the people that I play with on Discord, we're like, a lot of us we're built in PlanetSide 2 and are very jaded, even more jaded after PlanetSide 2. And if anybody knows the lore of PlanetSide, you'll understand. Or maybe you won't, I don't know, because that game also has some weirdos in that community. But the guys that I play with, we all understand that. We all develop our mechanical skill. We all work to improve our gameplay and the way we think about things when we play. And we all have full-time jobs or are in school or have lives outside of playing games. We're not no-lifers, which is the irony, because the majority of the people who are barely average are the ones with no job, nothing. They're just sitting on the couch 9-10 hours a day playing a game, and you suck at it. I mean, like,
that's what we call a base today.
Yeah, you know, it's hard for a lot of people to hear. You know, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that they suck and that they need to improve. And granted, my personality is not for everybody, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, because I'm of the opinion, and this goes outside of gaming, that I apply this to pretty much all aspects of my life. If you're not honest with me or with somebody about something, how can you ever improve? Like, there's so many other hobbies I have outside of gaming that if somebody at some point wasn't just honest with me and was like, "Hey man, you suck and here's how you get better." You know, I've done track days on my motorcycle, my Ducati, right? I my first bike ever, I totaled it because I didn't really understand what I was doing. And then it took another rider to be like, "Dude, you're fucking terrible at riding. Let me show you." And I started dominating at track days and track meets and like setting really good times, setting personal lap records, like improving all. And why? All because somebody was honest and upfront with me, didn't sugarcoat it, and was like, "Dude, you suck." And I didn't take it to heart. I didn't get offended. I didn't get butthurt over it. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I know he's a skilled writer. Let me listen to what this person who's much better than me has to say." Um, you know, and another aspect of that is fighting. You know, I do Muay Thai, American kickboxing, and the same thing. My coach, when I first started sparring, he told me, he was like, "Dude, what are you like? What are you doing, man?" Um, but that's how we get better. You can't sugarcoat things. That's my point in all this is you can't sugarcoat things because that's how you get better at the end of the day.
Is it so? Like, the way I would say it, if you're one of those gamers like me. So when I first started console, not that long ago, I was like, how am I going to aim? And then, oh, there's auto aim, so people like me can do it because I'm always been welcome back. And auto aim's great, like me, where I just want to or cyberpunk. If I was playing a first person shooter, I would use my computer. But I understand some people couch after work, like you said. But what why do you not have like different categories or different, I won't say servers because I suppose they don't really exist anymore in the way that we know from back in the day, but like
Yeah, no.
if you're I don't understand the cross platform, I suppose is what I'm trying to get at. Or could you at least choose where you're like, I'm a casual gamer, I just want to chill and it not be overly competitive. I'll choose this class of matchmaking, and then people like you, then go in your class. And sorry, I'm a bit away from the mic. You just choose your class, and you're like, okay, so I'm going to play with my friends. Like, why do the two have to mingle if it's not working? You know?
Yeah, well, we're at the mercy of the developer. If you're on PC, so here's the thing, and it's not just like this for Battlefield. I think Apex is like this. Fortnite might be like this. I don't know because I've never played Fortnite and I refuse to touch that game. That's I'm not even going to get into that. Um, but I know I'm pretty sure Apex is and like if you're on console, you have the option to turn off crossplay to just play with other console players. If you're on PC, you have no such option. Like you just get the lobbies that you get. So crossplay, if you're on PC, is just always on. And so game developers, again, not just in Battlefield, but in other titles as well, they'll give the console players the option to turn it on or off. They don't do that to the PC players. And that's something else that pisses me off. So basically, like on the PC platform, either get rid of crossplay or give us the option to disable it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you a majority of people, if given that option, will turn it off because like going back to kind of what I was saying earlier, even in Battlefield, right? Because that's what I've been, as far as multiplayer FPS, that's what I've been playing mainly. I know every time I die to a controller, there's like, I'll get it like let's say out of 10 deaths, I'll get it right 8 out of 10 times if I die without even looking at the scoreboard and looking at the person's name to see what the icon is next to their name. I'll be like, that was a controller player that just killed me. And then if I go and look 8 times out of 10, I'll be right. Because when you die to a controller, it feels different. than dying to somebody who's also playing on mouse and keyboard, because there's this weird like gap where like if it's an even fight, right? And art of war, never fight fair. But if it is an even fight and I try to take a toe-to-toe gunfight with somebody and they're on controller, I'm on mouse and keyboard, and they kill me, I always know, because they'll look at you, they will start shooting, and then it's like this weird half-second delay where just every bullet will hit you and you'll die in like one perceived hit. And it's just like, it's this weird like thing that happens, and every time it happens, because you can feel it when it happens, and you have no chance to take cover, break line of sight, re-engage. You just die. Like, versus that same situation and somebody else on mouse and keyboard, I can usually break line of sight, I can recover, I can re-engage on my terms, and then win the gunfight. You can't, it's almost impossible to do against a controller. And here's the thing, and this is the sad part, Battlefield, compared to other games, has relatively weak aim assist. Aim assist is still stupid and it sucks, but like games like Apex, Call of Duty's rotational aim assist and their it's basically it's a first party developer implemented cheat in Call of Duty. It's insanely strong in Call of Duty. Apex, I remember I heard a lot of people tell me that it got pretty strong because I quit playing Apex for that reason. And I remember having some people that play like not that long ago tell me like, yeah, I control it. Like, it was really strong in Apex Legends. But yeah, and so it's just sad. But like what you were saying though too, I have no issues in single player FPS if you have aim assist or not. I don't care.
Yeah, that's like
it doesn't matter. Yeah, but if you're playing online, no. Get good. Like that, I don't know. That's all. Like, you shouldn't have to have the developers implement a system that holds your hand and in some ways plays the game for you. Because that's what it's, if you think about it, especially in these games that have really strong assists, and not just aim, but like any sort of assist for a controller player for like movement, aim, anything else. Some games it's so strong, the game's basically how's that fun for you? You're not actually playing the game. The game's doing most of the work, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
I think I think you get like a false sense of being skilled, and then I suppose those people are like, I know, oh, I'm in your competitive landscape. They're like, oh, I'm really good, haha, I got him. But it's like, yeah, but your controller's doing a lot of the work, and that's kind of frustrating. It is frustrating. I think you can never have too many options, but you can have too few. So I do think it's very odd that Xbox console players can turn off, cross-platform multiplayer, whereas PC gamers can't. Like, are there not enough PC players in the pool? Is that why they're forced together? Like,
not at all.
Right. So why not just give people the option, and all of this will go away? I don't know whether they want people on console to shoot someone like you and get it, and then maybe it's to give them a false sense of winning or security, or I don't know, but it's frustrating for sure. It would really annoy me.
Let's do an experiment. So right now, as of today, so I'm in the East Coast United States, and it's 7:23, almost 7:30. So right now on Steam, so this isn't even the EA client, on Steam there's 207,547 concurrent active players in Battlefield 6 right now. And that's just the Steam numbers. That's not people who are playing on PC, mouse and keyboard using the EA client, which their own launcher. So the real number is probably closer to 250,000, maybe 300,000 concurrent players, something like that. I don't know. I'm sure somebody can check me on that. But point is, and to your point, there's plenty of PC players. So there's no reason that we shouldn't also get the option to turn off crossplay and not have to play with that crap.
We've just had, sorry to interrupt, we've just had a raid. Ostinado, who I've met in real life, actually.
Greetings.
Thank you for the raid.
Thank you for the raid. 22 viewers. Thank you, Austin. I need to drop into Austin's stream more, but because of the time difference, I'm so bad. Tab merge, yeah, absolutely, Demogorgon. Yeah, welcome in. First time chat from a raider, Bandito 1001. Austinite raid, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, welcome in. We've got Shvok here. If you haven't met Shvok before, he is a competitive FPS player. We're talking Battlefield 6 right now, but we'll move on to other topics. Early follow of mine, and I thought I would do something a bit more chatty, a bit more chill. And yeah, just see how it goes. So we're kind of talking about console players, C players, and multiplayer, and how there's a lot of frustration. In fact, on that note, Juicy did say PC players plugging controllers into their PC for aim assist. Ooh, that's a cheeky bypass. Because I thought, oh, why don't people? Oh, that's a bit cheeky.
People
Thank you for the follow.
They do it in Battlefield, and that is like the norm in Call of Duty. Again, even PC players in Call of Duty plug in and use controllers or Zims or devices like that to get the aim assist. Again, just like I said much earlier, because it was so overpowered in Call of Duty and the developers didn't do anything about it. Even the PC, even pro, like actual people that played in the Call of Duty pro leagues on PC would use a controller because that was the only way to compete. If you used a mouse and keyboard, you were, even though the mouse and keyboard in a vacuum is a superior input device, again, having essentially developer implemented aimbot that was that strong, you couldn't compete. You had to use a controller if you wanted to compete. And that was the norm. And Juicy's right, because people do it in Battlefield too. And so, yeah, you need to segregate not just by...
knows how to use a gun.
Sorry.
That was well timed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't just segregate by platform. You also need to segregate by input device. Like if you're playing on PC, you shouldn't be able to, like, using a gamepad should not even be an option. And actually, and I know one reason why that's popular to include in modern day is for accessibility, right? Maybe because developers, I know that they do, and this is like one of the very few times I'll kind of defend developers, is they take into account people that like maybe they have some sort of physical disability and the only thing they can use is like a controller. Like they can't move their arm or their wrist or like, so the only thing that they have are like their hands and fingers. So like, okay, well, we want them to be able to play our game too. So, they can use a gamepad. But they act like it's a tough thing to navigate, and I don't think it is. If you're on PC, gamepad or not, you don't get aim assist. Period. End of story. Like, if you want to use a gamepad for accessibility so you can play the game, okay, fine, but you don't get aim assist. Like, you don't have to have both. So yeah, I do agree. Like, it's like segregating based on input. Yeah, needed. It's just. And again, not just about it. That's one of the reasons I still play Counter-Strike 2. I'm not competitive in Counter-Strike anymore these days, but I do still play Counter-Strike 2.
I thought you didn't like it.
I don't. I have a love-hate relationship with it, and I don't like it enough to not be competitive in it anymore. Because that's a whole multifaceted issue. But I do still enjoy playing it like casually competitive, if that makes any sense. So like, I'll do like ranked lobbies, things like that. I refuse to pay for ESEA because I'm too used to the old days of like Cal and Civo. I mean, I get it. It's nice to have that extra security. You're on a paid client for anti-cheat and all the other stuff and accountability.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind that's like service-based. Yeah, because I did download. I think I played CS a long time ago. I don't know. And I downloaded it and loaded it up the other day, and I was like, microtransactions and different things you can pay for. I was like, wow, okay, fair enough. It's not my cup of tea. But I did load up a game. I mean, I don't know whether it kind of sucks for me, right? Because I get into a game, instantly killed, have to wait for the next match, but a lot of those games are like that, so that's kind of on me. I would just want such a casual experience where it's like Counter-Strike Source, which is now full of bots, unfortunately. But I kind of like that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Full of Russian bot servers. It's the same with Team Fortress 2. I used to love that. I think we discussed that start of 2011 when I wasn't. and I would play that. Oh my god, it was fantastic. And now they've got rid of great maps like CTF Sawmill. That's gone for some reason.
Yeah.
Really good maps. And now it's just all, you know, Two Fort, you know, a couple of the others. I don't know why they've taken those maps out of the rotation, but those were the days. And now it's just full of bots. You think, what happened to this game? Why is it flooded with bots? And it's a shame. Strike.
Yeah.
Go down that
And
road.
there's a very clear delineation. I could draw a line with a piece of chalk when TF2 went downhill. And that was not the day, but the week or a month that it went free to play. There was a start, and I was not so many TF2 people or people in the Team Fortress community noticed it. And so, fun fact, I was also competitive in the early Team Fortress 2 days. I even went to LAN tournaments here in my state that I live in. I traveled all around the state going to LAN tournaments, competing with a local team here in Team Fortress 2. And we stopped when it went free to play because the game just became, no other way to describe it, it became pure cancer. You know, and it's only gone downhill since then. And with the lack of support from Valve, like, you know, anybody who is involved in Team Fortress 2 kind of understands the lore there. But yeah, I stopped. I told him, I was like, I'm not playing anymore. I don't want to. Like, just the overall quality of the games and the servers, like you said, they just crashed. Like, there's a noticeable difference. And that's the thing. It's game developers are sacrificing quality for quantity. And I actually saw a tweet. I think I retweeted it, or an X, or I don't know. What do you call it now? Do you call it an X?
I still call it tweet because yeah.
Like, what do you?
I still say tweet because I can't be bothered.
Yeah, so do I, because everybody knows what you mean. But there's oh yeah, I just found it. It's from Tim Kaine, which was one of the Fallout co-creators, and he said, one of the problems that games suffer from today is trying to be everything for everyone. And that, I think,
I saw that.
If you're looking for one thing to just sum up the totality of the multi-level issues we have in modern AAA gaming, I think that sums it up quite well. You're trying to do everything for everyone. You cannot, just like in real life, right? Like I tell my nieces and nephews, you know, whenever I have kids, I'll tell them, you can't please everyone you meet. You cannot be a people pleaser. The only person that's going to hurt is yourself.
Yes.
Trying to do it.
Yes.
Trying to please everyone. You can't. And it's the same thing with shit like this. It carries over. You can't please everyone, so stop. Pick a vision, pick a focus, pick a direction, and stick to it.
Do that well. Yeah, I think he said as well, it was the technology that forced them to focus on one thing. In fact, here's one for you, Shvok. Demo Gorgon, who's a mod on my channel as well, says, I remember there was some problematic input scheme deliberation in Doom. At one point in Doom ports, there was a turn 180-degree key added a long time ago, originally for the ease of use for old school keyboard only players. The issue arose when speedrunners started using it to optimize their normal setup, and the key was recently banned. Using it, now it's considered tool assistant. So I suppose then you couldn't count it as a speed run. Okay, right, that makes sense.
Yeah, a task, tool assisted speed run. He's right. And actually, fun fact, that actually exists in Battlefield 6 today, right now. You can go and make a bind that if you hit that bind, it snaps your character around 180 degrees. So yeah, no, that's actually, it's funny he mentions that, and that we were talking about Battlefield as kind of the main topic earlier, but that is in Battlefield 6 right now. You can do that. You can set up a keybind, and when I heard about it, it was funny because when I found out that, first I went to Doom and Quake, I was like, that's familiar. But yeah, because, and I think, and Demo might remember better than me, but I think that came about before playing with mouse and keyboard became like more mainstream. Like people were quite literally only playing with keyboard, so they were using, you'd use like
enter to fire,
WASD to move, and then your arrow keys to look, or vice versa. Because in the really early days, the arrow keys were the movement keys. Because there's no such thing as like vertical aiming, right? You couldn't look up or down in the original like Doom. You couldn't look up or down or anything like that. It was just forward, back, left, right. and then your fire. But yeah, no, he's right about that. So yeah, funny. I'm guessing that demo's a guy. I don't know. But yeah, funny. You should mention that.
Yeah, no, Demo knows a lot of niche facts, especially about Doom and Quake and all the other lovely games. But I did just Google when Team Fortress 2 was free, 2011. So that coincides with I was playing it a lot when I was at school. 2010. It must have been 2010. And then right on the cusp. So I didn't see. Oh, we've got another raid.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Nuke for Prez is raiding with a party of 11. Welcome in, raiders. I'm not playing Doom today. We're more having some base takes, discussing mechanics, Battlefield 6, but now we're talking about Team Fortress 2 and when it went free and how things went downhill.
Greetings.
But thank you very much, Nuke for Prez. Much appreciated. Bookend Kitties, first time chatter. That's a cool. But yeah, so something a bit different today. We're just chatting, and yeah, here it is. But yeah, welcome in, raiders. Yeah, so I wouldn't say like overnight I noticed like a difference, like I was at school, but I remember it was really good. 2010 and even 2011 for me, and then I think I stopped playing the next. Yeah, because that's when I got a boyfriend. So yes, but it was really good.
Kind
It
of
was
important.
yeah, and then never went back. But no, it was really good. It was really good. I used to spend hours, and I don't know why they've gotten rid of. They haven't. You're right. It's the servers. It's the servers who are just like, here's some 2-4, here's some a couple other maps, and so the better or you know, all these great maps that were created by the team, the original developers, are now no longer in circulation. And, you know, Sawmill, I had some great times on, but now you go on there and I think you used to be able to tell bots by their ping being 0 and
Yep.
or the time spent on the server. And I still use that, but I don't know how reliable the latter is. So even when I'm on CSGO, the bots have pings now. And I think that's just done to mask it. I could be wrong. I don't know, but it's been so long. I used to be able to spot them right away, and now I can't really tell who's a bot anymore. So I thought I was good at Counter-Strike the other day. I thought, yeah, this is going well. And then I was like, oh shit, it's full of bots, isn't it?
And again, that's kind of part of the issue, right? Is that goes back to earlier I was talking about that sense of entitlement. It's a way to keep people who don't know any better playing, because exactly like what you just said, they'll get the sense of like, oh man, I'm actually pretty good at this game.
Yeah.
The reality is you're not. That's just the hard truth.
So when I joined
like,
CS2,
you just said it.
I
You
died.
literally just said it. But yeah, I think you're right that it was done partially to mask it, right? So that you wouldn't know that you're playing. That was purposeful. But like with TF2, right? And this is the whole thing with like game lobbies and just in general, this goes outside gaming. This goes into like all modern entertainment facets, really. I am so sick. You know, some people will probably be familiar with the term software as a service. But now we have entertainment as a service, streaming sites, etc.
Yeah.
And
prices have gone up on those like mad.
Music. And in that whole entertainment as a service category, and you kind of touched on this here and there throughout, Rosie, is now gaming as a service is becoming a thing. I mean, not becoming, it is a thing. And I've got problems with that too. You know, I miss owning a standalone game where I didn't need to have an always online launcher. And then in the most egregious cases where the games themselves, even if you're playing single player, has to be online. If you don't have an internet connection, you can't even play a single player game. That's beyond stupid.
It is. I agree. And that does,
and
it does disenfranchise.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to read a couple of reactions to what we've been saying. Demo Gorgon said, true, I'm guessing from what you said. Formerly, id Games advised to play with mouse and keyboard and use strafing. Even in Wolfenstein days, it was in the game manual. But yes, almost no one played like that. Many didn't own a mouse. Only later with Quake did it start to get through to players. And then Lady Miss Dragon said, oh God, and kind of why Team Fortress 2 has really dipped in popularity the past 10 years or so. two different points of the conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, and both are correct. Actually, on the Quake, Dennis Fong. Fong was like the first. That was the guy that won John Carmack's.
I've
Ferrari
heard that
in a LAN
name.
tournament
I've
at
heard
Quake,
him. Yeah.
He was the one. He's the reason. Actually, in a lot of ways, you can credit him with mouse and keyboard input in modern day, because no one really used a mouse at all. Like even in this LAN tournament he was playing in, I think the person that he was playing against in the finals was using just his keyboard, and Fong figured out, oh, if I separate my input and I use my mouse and my keyboard, I can have better movement. I have better aim. I'm more consistent. Because it decouples the two and you can aim and look independently of your movement. And that's how he won the tournament. He won. He was like the first person to really popularize using a mouse with your keyboard to play a game. And of course, everybody wanted to be the next Dennis Fong, even back then. And so it just kind of became like mouse and keyboard as a standard. So yeah, in a lot of ways, you can kind of credit him with that.
Yeah, we've got a first-time chatter here. So your monologue. No, I'm joking. First-time chatter here. Razruhov says, not until I was beaten 5-18 by another Quake 2 beginner with a keyboard or mouse did I start using a mouse myself.
Yep. And that's the thing, right? Just kind of going back to what we were saying earlier with why I have such a huge problem with controller players and multiplayer FPS. I want to stress that for especially for the new people watching, strictly in multiplayer FPS settings. If you want to use a controller and have aim assist in single player, I don't care. But kind of to touch on earlier is this is the time, and not to sound like that person, but man, it's so true though, is during a certain time period, aim assist just simply didn't exist. Your choices were to get shit on or to get better. Those were your choices. And some people like myself were like, took it as a challenge and was like, know what? I'm going to get better. The next time I see this person, I'm going to kick his ass or her ass, whatever. But that was basically the thing, is like, those were your options. You get stomped on or you get better. And not just in Quake. That was Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, Unreal Tournament, all the popular multiplayer FPS of the day. That was your choice. You either adapt or you just remain media. And here's the thing. For the people that made a conscious decision of like, you know what, I'm just enjoying the game. They didn't have any desire to improve at a competitive level like myself and others did. I respect those people back then more than I respect the ones who do that today. Because again, today, those people will be the ones to pick up the controller, abuse aim assist, and have the game essentially play itself for them, and sit there and go, oh, well, I can be competitive too. I'm actually pretty good. No, you're not. No, you're not. Again, in most of these games, the key delineator is also how you can tell most of the time that you're fighting a controller player is watch the way they move around a map. Watch the way they move around a map, because the way they move around the map is not consistent with how accurate they can hit shots or beam you at range. Like, they move like a noob, like a total amateur, but they have the aim of a pro. So your options there is this person's either is on PC and is cheating, like using an aimbot, or they're playing on controller that has a developer implemented aimbot in the form of rotational aim assist. And that's usually like it back in the day. That's how you could tell somebody was cheating. Like before crossplay existed, was they just like these players, they hit these amazing shots, but the way they move around, the choices they make as they're playing are not congruent with the way that they're aiming. And any actual good, talented, competitive player, the way they move around the map and the way they think about the game is congruent a lot of times with their aim. They have that strong mechanical base, their skill, but they also have the mental aspect as well, the decision making, playing around a team or an enemy, knowing when to engage, when not to engage, when to break line of sight and re-engage. One of the greatest FPS players in the world, Rafa right? The king, the goat, the Quake goat. You know, I remember he was streaming. I think it was in the beginning of Quake Champions, like when it had just come out. But he was still playing Quake Live, or yeah, dueling in Quake Live too. And somebody asked him like, "Hey," like basically they asked him like, "How can I improve?" or something along that effect. And somewhere in there, Rafa, he's like, "Know when or live to fight another day." In other words, know when to take a fight, when not to take a fight, and when you need to just break engagement. Like if an enemy engages you and it's a fight that doesn't favor you, learn how to recognize that and immediately break line of sight and then re-engage on your own terms to win the fight. And so the way he summed that up was live to fight another day. In other words, don't take a fight that doesn't favor you. Why would you do that? Why would you put yourself, like deliberately put yourself in a bad position to lose that fight? And it doesn't just apply to Quake. It applies to any game, regardless of, if you're competitive or not. Like most people need to understand how to move around, how to take fights, and how to engage the enemy.
Yeah. We do have Nuke for Preds, who raided, second raider, said, I never liked aim assist. I felt like it threw my aim off more. And then Razruhov says, in Quake 3 days, though, when devs didn't include aim assist, people wrote and used their own, which prompted the whole Punk Buster arms race. I remember Punk Buster.
Yep.
Half-Life Deathmatch. I remember my dad saying, migrated to Steam and we were on. He was like, the cheating was so bad. You'd see people... Okay, one thing about movement, as I do remember in the early days of Half-Life when there was a lot of cheating going on, you'd see people constantly being able to use the Gauss cannon whilst long jumping. And I'm like, how are they getting these one hits with the Gauss cannon? I don't know. It's an old memory, so I could have it wrong. And Devon Gorgon says, worst thing regarding entertainment as a service I came across recently, Journal 29, a role-playing game book, I suppose, which instead of a story, snippets, and rules, had only QR codes printed on all pages diverting to pages of a website. If it goes down, that book is only as good as fuel for a campfire to tell stories. That's it. I used to have those books. But you have to have internet. Like, you'd flick to the page when you made your decision and cheat. If you made the wrong decision, you're like, I kept my finger in that page, see? That's bad. Mm-hmm. Like, that is, I do think it's bullshit. If you don't have an internet connection, you're not playing the single player campaign, then what have you bought, But yeah,
right. You're getting robbed. Like, honestly, to me, to take that a step further, I think that should be a blatant FTC consumer protection violation. Like, I've just given you my money for a product, for something, right? I give you money, you give me game. But you have this string attached that says, hey, I've got your money, but you play the game on our terms.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have an internet connection or you lose your internet connection, sorry, but we're going to keep your money.
Yep.
Right? I have major issues with that. The whole entertainment as a service thing. And like, I'm trying to go back to physical media. Actually, right behind me, you can kind of see a little bit in frame. I've got a vinyl player. I'm going back to vinyl. Like everything that I've got, I have this effort that slowly everything that I've gotten on digital distribution to buy either on DVD, CD, vinyl, have some form of physical media because, you hear people talk about like, I forgot what game it was, but on PlayStation 5, there was some game that PSN just up and deleted off PSN. Like, if you bought it, tough stuff. You don't get it anymore because there was something that happened with licensing and the game studio, and PlayStation just took it off. So even if you bought it, tough luck, man. I'm not a console owner, but it did happen to me on Amazon. So, kind of a guilty pleasure Miss Shvok and I have is one of the, everybody has that trashy TV show they like to watch. Yeah. Ours is a show called Bar Rescue. And we bought like I think we had gotten up to basically we'd bought at the time every season that was available, and all the seasons that were filmed were available on Amazon Prime. And we bought all of them, and then some time had passed and we're like, oh, there's new seasons. So we went on because we wanted to watch the new one and we couldn't find it. And then we started scrolling through and we're like, wait a minute, what happened to our other seasons? Well, what happened is there was, I guess, a licensing agreement or
It's
expiration
so
or
annoying.
something,
Yep.
and that the only way to watch episodes or see entire seasons that we paid money for would be to subscribe to another
Yep.
service called Paramount Plus
Oh, we've got that.
and get it there. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay twice for something I already should own. I
Oh,
don't care. Like, if it's a licensing thing, that should have transferred for all the people who already bought it on Amazon, right? They gave their money.
that's
Now you're
bad.
going to make me go to another service. And that's when I was like, that's enough. We're getting everything on physical media is not out of date. It's not old school. It's not gone out of style. That's bullshit. That's just propaganda by these large companies to get you
Yeah.
on to get you to stay on these payment models. I buy something, it's mine. I own it. You do not tell me what to do with it when I can and can't use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so stupid. And that's like to take this even a step further, back it was towards the end. I think it was like year 2 or 3 of Obama's last term as president of the United States. I think it's like second, third year on his second term, somewhere in there. One of the things that he did, and I'm not trying to turn this, like, I'm not going to discuss politics here, but this is actually related to the conversation. One of the things that he did where I was like, fuck yeah, was what was the oh god, what was it called? My god, I just had the name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But it was an act to basically retitle ISPs as what was it, tier 3 services, tier 3 utilities. So basically, if you're in the US, your ISP would essentially act like the way your power or water companies do. They're a utility, basically act as a utility. Because what was happening was God, I can't remember the name of this, but what was happening was ISPs were starting to see the way that things were going with streaming services. Net neutrality. Yes, net neutrality. I just saw it in the chat. The net neutrality law. He did net neutrality, and that did wonders, because what ISPs were doing is they were going to start tiering their service, their
Yes.
internet service, like
mobiles.
Comcast, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
based on, like, they're like, oh, you watch YouTube? Okay, well, if you want access to stream videos online, now you have to pay, like, if you just want blanket internet service, that's like $15 a month. Oh, you watch YouTube and other video streaming services? Okay, that's an extra $5 a month.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to stream music? That's another $5 a month. Oh, you want to have access to social media? That's another $5. Like, so every tier category of the internet, they were trying to nickel and dime you for it. And net neutrality, basically, they're like, nope, you can't do that.
They try.
And
They'll be like, so what do you use
Yeah.
your internet for? Streaming. Well, then you better go to our top tier service and fuck off. You know. But yeah.
yeah, and so consequently, right? Because for people, because there were people I argued with back then that didn't understand it. I'm like, okay, think about it like this. You buy a new microwave, right? Your power company now tells you, hey, to use that new microwave, you must now pay us an extra $20 a month to have access to something that you bought and you own. That's essentially like what we were talking about, because like I'm paying for internet service. I own it. It's my line. I should be able to use the bandwidth that I'm paying for. I should be able to use however I want for whatever I want, in the same way that you pay your utility company for your power company. They can't tell you how to use your power, right? They can't tell me, oh, if you want to charge your Tesla, you got to pay us an extra $100 a month. Oh, if you want to use your washer and dryer, that's an extra $20 a month. No, I'm paying a fee based on usage, and it's a flat fee based on usage. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that, and I think something like that is going to have to happen in the modern era with entertainment as a service, right? Like, these companies that they either need to transfer the license that you bought and paid for, or give you your money back.
Yeah, that's wrong.
That's the option.
Yeah. Lady Miss Dragon says, games as a service is a model that makes sense to corporate bean counters, but more and more people are becoming aware that it's just a more extended version of nickel and diming that has plagued DLC for years. Mies the Fresh, Bar Rescue Cat. Razuhov says, Minecraft Story Mode Season 2 comes to mind. Yeah, that went really commercial. When Telltale Games went under, that was pulled from all digital stores, and to add insult to injury, no physical copies were released either, so you can't get it legally anymore. Demo Gorgon says, on the other hand, power and water utilities are quite crafty, nickel and diming their customers too. They can't differentiate too much on usage, but the fees they apply may get iffy.
Yeah. By the way, I heard you say Mish the Fish. That's Mish Shvok, by the way, just so everybody knows. That's who that is.
I'm sorry. I thought it was one of your followers, but
I mean, technically, yes, you're right. It's one of my, it's the only follower I have that follows me to bed. So, you know, anyway, but nickel and diamond customers, yeah, they do. And you're right. They kind of have like, so on that note, right? Like my own power company, I found out because we thought that we were being taken for a ride essentially by the power company. And, come to find out, because, you know, I live in a state where major storms are a yearly like occurrence, and the last major event that we had, the utility company or the power company tax on this, I think it was like an additional $40 to all their customers for a whole year cycle. And the reason they do that is because that's what pays for like all the out-of-state linemen, line workers, utility workers from other parts of the country coming over to help them repair the infrastructure after a major storm. And so that cost, they don't eat any of that cost, you know, as most companies, they just pass the cost on down to their customers. And so I told Mishvok, I was like, at the beginning of the year, like sometime around February, our power bill should get cheaper by exactly $40, because his statement, the guy that came out to the house, the adjuster told me, he was like, yeah, as long as we don't have any other major storms at the end of the year, that fee goes away. So I was like, okay, cool. So around February timeframe, my power bill should get cheaper by $40 then. But yeah, that's just kind of a way where they like, and the thing is, they're like, oh, well, that should be on your power bill. It's not.
No.
We had no idea that they added certain fees in until he came to the house and showed me the laptop.
I've had the same.
Like showed me what his screen looks like. And I was like, I looked at all the fees and I was like, holy shit. And they don't show you that on your monthly bill. No. They'll show you what you're using, but they don't show you all the stuff that they're tacking on top of that. And here's the thing, the base fees, right? So here's how insane it is. If I were to go to my main junction right now and turn the power off to my house, right? So no, like this house will have zero power, right? It'd be like me going out there and just physically cutting the line with shears.
Still be paying something.
Guess how much? How much do you think the base power bill would be, even if I shut the power off at the main junction to the entire house and there were no physical way to use any power? How much do you think the base power bill would be?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's 150 to 200, 150 to
you're close.
Yeah, 175.
$140. We would still have to pay $140 even if this house had physically 0 volts, 0 watts power going to it. 0. We'd still pay $140 a month. That's the base power bill fees. Because he showed me, he was like, yep, those are all the base fees, and that storm recovery fee, that $40 storm recovery fee, was a part of that. And because I asked him, I was like, what is that? And he told me. I was like, you've got to be kidding me, dude.
That's kind of insane. Yeah, it is, Debo.
It's nuts.
Oh man, yeah, though that is crazy. We have the same, and we kind of switched providers, but I noticed that there is variation in providers here in Texas, and they'll just kind of make up. I did have one there, but they just make up a load of charge. Yeah, actually, but it's here because In fact, they've hidden. Oh, got a base charge. Don't know what that is. Okay, energy charge. Okay, so that's nice. So we actually only use $70 worth of energy, but we're paying 120 in fees because we've got the
Yep.
base charge, delivery charges, gross reimbursement. Don't know what that is. PUC assessment,
Delivery charge.
and then we've got and that's $32. And sales tax. So that's total miscellaneous charges of $11. Don't know what they are. So that brings me to 122. So we went from $70.47 to $122.40. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
What is that?
And that's the insanity of it, right? Delivery charge. It's a cable that's physically hooked up to my house, and you're not like there's nobody coming here and delivering something. What do you mean delivery charge? What kind of bullshit is
They've got to
that?
get a handle of that. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're really not. We're not going to get political. Yeah.
Yeah, to bring that kind of like back to the whole gaming thing, right? Games as a service, like, and you see it right in the form of, because there have been controversies over the years, like legally and otherwise, about loot boxes, gambling, right? Because it's like, okay, at what point do we consider this gambling and kids are doing this, right? They're swiping their parents' credit cards, skins, all this other stuff, because and that's why I say like growing up, I was always taught there's no such thing as a free lunch. Someone's paying for it, right? If somebody's like, hey, it's free, it's not. Somebody paid for it. It may be free to you, but somebody paid for it. And the point I'm trying to make here is it's the same thing with these free to play games. They're not free. Like, yeah, they are. I can just go download it and start playing. Okay, that's kind of true. But to really get access to the game, you have to buy stuff. You have to buy a battle pass, season pass, some sort of loot box, something to actually stay relevant within the game. Like, so is it actually free?
And continuously.
No, it's not.
Probably per month. So it's actually probably on net more expensive than the flat fee paid in
It
the first
is.
place.
And here's the thing. The companies doing that know that, and that's why they do it. They know, okay, which way makes us more money? If we charge them $60 one time, or if we can get them locked into a system where they're paying $5, $10, $20, $50, $60, $100 a month. What? Like, it's not some people, they're like, oh yeah, okay, I guess, or oh, I don't really care. I'm like, dude, you should care. It's your money. Like that. Oh God, I don't want to get into a financial conversation, but like, you should care. You should care. If you're paying for it, you should care. If your kids or if your parents and your kids are playing these games and they can swipe your credit card, you should definitely care, right? Like, there was a couple years ago, wasn't there, or maybe it was like, I don't know, before COVID, I think. I remember seeing something that kind of went viral where some kid swiped his parents' credit card and racked up like a couple $1,000 on Fortnite skin, like something to do with Fortnite. And it was like thousands and thousands of dollars, and they had to hire an attorney to get their money back because Epic wasn't. They're like, no, this was a consensual charge. You're not getting your money back. And they had to like pay more money for a lawyer to be like, no, this was a minor. He didn't know what he was doing. Like, but then again, we get into the whole conversations of whose fault is it really?
Well, parents. Right? Parents. I think they should take that on the chin.
It's your kid. Yep. He's playing this game. He's playing a game where he's able to buy stuff with your credit card. So it's like, you can't pass the blame off on the child. That's your fault. You gave him access to that. Like,
I suppose the attorney would say, well, he can't consent because he's not the card holder. He's under 18. And it's like, yeah, but for all intents and purposes, the parents are the ones making that transaction. And they've got to learn. They've got to learn. Euro Scumbags joined. Hello, Euro Scumbags. Shvok gameplay in the background is crazy. Demo Gorgon says delivery technically is maintenance of the infrastructure like power lines and substations. Fair comment. But they like to stack anything on this as end customers no way to verify how legit it is. Yeah, that's true. I can see that. But we don't really, the trust isn't there. The trust isn't there to believe, oh, this is for maintenance of power lines.
Right? Like for example, in my industry, current day, I'm a senior security or information security architect, right? Which is the fancy way to say cybersecurity engineer. But I didn't start life that way, right? I started very basic, working a help desk in a data center, doing very low level, entry level type jobs, you know, cabling servers, moving servers from one rack to another. And I started like on the floor basically, and worked my way up over time. But that would be like in my industry, like it's the way that these companies decouple things, right? If I'm an ISP and I connect you to the internet, the expense for the hardware and all that should be part of your monthly bill, not separated. But again, companies have figured out, oh, if we separate these things, we can actually make more money by saying, okay, we charge you separately for the bandwidth you're using, but also charge you separately for delivery, which includes the infrastructure that delivers it to your house. And they discover like, oh yeah, we can make more money if we split these things apart. Which again, I think is very anti-consumer. Even more so when you consider that most people in a lot of areas, they don't even have it's not, and this is where people, okay, I'm going to get a little political, but this is where people get capitalism wrong. That's not capitalism. That's called an oligarchy.
Yeah.
Or,
crony capitalism.
When you live in an area and your option is this guy, okay, that's not capitalism. Oh, capitalism sucks. Because no, that's not capitalism. Actually, capitalism would be you have more than one option, and the option that gives you the best value for your money, right? So the company that you perceive as having the best value for the money, for your money, they're the ones that get your business. That's true capitalism. That's a true competitive market. Which by nature, capitalism is a competitive market, and competitive markets are very good. But when you strip away the competition and you have these companies like Comcast who buy their competition so they can be the only ones to service an area, people don't have a choice. They're stranglehold. It's Comcast or nothing. But now that's starting to change very slowly. The better, because I know people that live in areas where Comcast was their only option, and Starlink has finally become good enough where they're like, I replaced Comcast with Starlink. Like that's actually providing people with a choice, so they don't have to be beholden to these other greedy companies. They're like, you know what? And over time, enough people are going to leave where these companies are going to go, oh shit, okay, we can't be as greedy anymore because now we have competition in the form of, Starlink or whoever else might pop up over the years. I don't know, we don't know, but like right now, Starlink is actually giving some competition in a lot of these rural areas where your options are like Cox, Comcast, and that's it. Like you have no other options.
So like in England, fun fact, it's if you move addresses or you have a new bill, whatever, and you need internet, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get internet from the moment that you pay for it, because the actual infrastructure, you have Virgin Media, you have T-Mobile, your internet service providers, but the actual infrastructure, when it was copper cabling, now fiber optic, I guess, that is all British Telecoms, which in its own is also an ISP and has dominated the market for decades. And they rent it off British Telecoms. So when you go with Virgin Media or T-Mobile, they say, we can't switch your internet on for 3 weeks. You say, why is that? Can't I just change provider and get one quicker because these guys are slack? They'll say, no. It's the same for all the providers, because actually we rely and we rent from British Telecoms. They're the ones who schedule it. So you have to wait. There's a 3-week queue. So people will be without internet. That's why you got to do it before you move. So that sucks. And the other thing is as well.
That's insane.
It is insane. And I remember I was saying to Mum how quick it is here. And she said, yeah, I remember even in the 80s, your phone lines, getting them installed was a lot quicker in America, because in the UK, guess what? You had to wait for British Telecoms, who notoriously went on strike in the 70s when it was publicly owned. But that's the other thing in England.
That's what happens with government-run stuff.
So the other aspect of this in England, the UK is a third world country. We knew that. Euroscum said he can't discuss the money as the government took all of mine, whilst also being a Corbyn supporter. Sorry, I won't say that. That's why I can't leave London. London is third world, Euroscum bag. But like in England, it's weird because you touched on this with crony capitalism is kind of what I've called it.
Yeah,
And they'll
trade
be, so what they'll
capitalism. Or I
do,
saw somebody in chat monopoly. I think I
yeah,
said oligarchy, but yeah, monopoly.
Monopoly, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I thought those were independent of BT. I don't think so. I know what you're saying, and I have heard that, but I don't. They still have to switch it on with BT, so it takes time. But yeah, in England, so what we'll have is privatization, and then bringing it under state ownership again. That word's got privatization and whatever. So state ownership. And we've had it from the 70s where it's public ownership and they went on strike and kind of hold us ransom. We then went to privatization. But here's the key thing that people forget is with privatization, things then, like over time, things in the UK again stop working and people say, okay, we need to renationalize the railways because they're not working, take them back into state ownership. But what actually happened is it's not true competition, especially like with the railways, for example, because the tracks are still owned by the government and the train companies are basically renting use of the train tracks. And then a lot of the companies are actually state funded anyway. They're subsidized. So it's not true competition and it's not true privatization because the taxpayers have always been paying for it anyway. So then we go back to government ownership where we're state funded anyway, and then back to then back to privatization where it's state funded again. You'd be amazed at how incompetent the competition is. Yeah, Razorov, I will look into that. I think not even Virgin Media has an independent infrastructure anymore, because I remember I had Virgin Media when I was at university and we had to still wait for the switch on. I will look into that because like I could be wrong, but British Telecoms has always dominated the infrastructure. I will allow that language. But it banned it for misogyny, the C word. Demogorgon says, almost no area has true choice of basic utilities provider. Most of the time, even if there are different companies from, they are using the same infrastructure and leave it from the main one. It came like this because many of such infrastructures started as government-based monopolies and often with shady transitions to private companies. That's true as well. Euroscumba says, I support Corbyn because he's less of a... Everyone's robbing me. Yeah, government knowing fuck all what they're doing. Later news at 11. Again, true. And even Bandita, who came from the radio start, said that's what's been happening here for years, sadly. Sorry, I was just catching up. Got a lot of good points, mate. It's amazing how on both sides of the spectrum, people are saying this isn't working. But we haven't done, in England in particular, we haven't done privatization right. Or if we did for the period in the 80s, then, we end up subsidizing it. England is quite baked because a lot of things government subsidize now. Even people's wages.
Well,
so I'm not sure.
It's like, so I have family that lives in Canada, that lives in Nova Scotia. And when I first visited, because, there's certain things you just didn't know much about. But the way that this has to do with the topic. The way that liquor is or alcohol in general is regulated in Canada. So it's technically privatized, but also regulated and controlled by the Canadian government. And so my uncles, I have family, again, lives in Nova Scotia, way up in one of the mountains there. And they had, and still to my knowledge, even till this day, have like the only convenience/grocery store on the mountain. So like everybody who lives in or around that mountain goes to his store. And back in, 2009, 2010, the government granted him a liquor license. And that's like a big deal in Canada. I didn't know it was a big, because like here in the States, especially in my state where I live in Florida, like if you open a bar and want a liquor license, like, okay, you have someone comes out, they look at your stuff, they approve you, and you pay a fee, and that's it, and you get your liquor license. Like, not a big deal. But that's like in Canada, that's a big deal for a private business owner to get a liquor license. And so he got one. He was allowed to sell beer and spirits. I don't think he could sell wine. There's like some way, again, government regulation stuff, right? So he's allowed to sell beer and spirits. And again, this is back in 2009, 2010. So not near the inflation that we have today. Back then, like their version of like Bud Light, which is like, I think it was called Keith's. So like just basically your kind of cheap, shitty beer. Back then it was like $8 something like $8 almost a can or something. It was like some absurd price where I was like, dude, if you want like just a cheap, crappy beer back at home, it's like $1.50, $2. Like sometimes it's on special where you can get a bucket of Bud Light. Like at least during that time, you could get a whole bucket of Bud Light for like $4. You know, if like an NFL game's on or a NASCAR race is on, you know, you go to a bar. But because of that government regulation, it was so. I'm like, dude, how do people like? How can people be alcoholics in Canada? How can you afford it? I don't understand. Like it was so expensive. Like how can you afford it? You can't afford to drink in Canada. It's insane. But anyway.
Demo Gorgon says one of the most boneheaded privatization was a Polish telecom in the early 90s. I'm guessing post. Oh, okay. That makes sense. The state-owned company that was privatized by being sold to state-owned French telecom. Yeah. Bandita said, sadly, we don't have any competition here. So where is here for you? Can I ask that? For many things, as monopoly companies are government related, true. Don't be poor, says Euro Scumbag. Excellent advice. Yep.
It's real easy. Don't be poor. It's so easy.
Why are you complaining? Yeah, exactly. No, that's mad. Yeah, I do remember I went to Canada last year because Julian's grandparents live there, and they do have, they're like the LSBO or something, Liquor Standard Board. That's the only place you can buy
I forget the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah, most liquor, like there's very. I was shocked. Like it was almost in a way, it was kind of a culture shock in a way to find out like it was actually very rare for a private business to have a liquor license in Canada. It was usually like state run. I was like, are you serious? Like I couldn't believe. I was like, wow, I had no idea. I don't know if that's changed much nowadays, but at least back then, my uncle was like, yeah, he's like, it's a big deal because it's very, very hard for private businesses to get a liquor license. And he got his at the store and like, you know, that did wonder, you know, of course his sales went through the roof because people are like, oh, I don't have to leave the mountain and go all the way down into the city to get, you know, booze now. You can get it right there at his little shop that he has. But yeah, I had no idea. And I was like, damn, like if there was ever an art, like, and again, it doesn't matter. What government, it doesn't matter. US, Canada, Europe, who's in power, which way they lean. Letting the government run any aspect of your life is fucking stupid because they're the slowest and most inefficient. It's the slowest and most inefficient way of doing anything. Right. So, but anyway, like coming back, right. Speaking of slow and inefficient, right. Like, you know, kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? Like the whole games as a service thing or whatever. You know, it's the same thing. It's one of those things where it's like you don't want the government to run everything. At the same time, sometimes government intervention is necessary. And I don't mean that in a contradictory way, because with a lot of this stuff that's anti-consumer, somebody needs to step in and break this up the same way that in, I think it was the mid to late 90s, the government had to step in and break up Microsoft. They need to do that again, and not just with Microsoft. When they were starting to get, you know, anti-competitive, anti-consumer, and it was like, nope, you can't, you cannot just bury your competition. That's not, like, you can't do that. So it's things like that where I think government intervention is necessary to keep an actual open market for people. That to me is when it's necessary. And that needs to happen now. Like I said, not just with Microsoft and all the BS that they're trying to integrate into Windows, but like Google, Amazon, all the cloud providers. There needs to be some intervention and some segregation there, because it's getting out of hand, and we see it every day. They can bend you over, they can take your money, and what are you going to do about it? There's no lawyer you can hire. There's no, because they're going to be like, dude, Amazon's the 800-pound gorilla in the room. What are we going to, like, what can you do? And what you're going to spend hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars to fight them over $100 that you lost? Like, where's the value? You know, it's like, okay, where's the value in that? What are you going to do about it? Same thing with games, you know, like how games are implementing the loot boxes and the services. It's like, okay, these big companies, multi-million-dollar companies, who most of them have rainy day funds for legal fees. Okay, so here you are, Joe Schmo or Susie Doodle. what are you going to do? Spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to get back $80, $100? They know you're not going to do that, and they take advantage of that. And it's so it's just more anti-consumer on top of the other anti-consumer practices that they have. Again, not everybody is entitled. Hold on, let me go of how I want to say this that it actually makes sense in my head, or how I'm thinking about it. But like, it's kind of like that quote that I read back earlier. These companies are trying to do everything for everyone. Not everything is going to be for everyone. You need to pick. You need to pick a goal. You need to pick a goal and stick to it. And that is where you're moving. You're not going to please everybody.
No, that's true. Do one thing and then do it very well. What I will say is, so he said, does Steam allow you to play offline? I think it does go into offline mode.
It does.
Okay, so
It does.
Yes, that's what I thought. I will say this. I think
that's not enough. That's not enough. That's why I love good old games. Because with GOG, you can get the actual. Because of GOG, I can actually still boot up and play Unreal Tournament.
Oh,
even though Epic.
They
and there's
gutted
another
that.
example of games as a service and why it should be banned. Like Epic just one day decided no more Unreal Tournament. Like delete Unreal Tournament as a series, gone. But Good Old Games allows you to download the game launcher. Like you download the whole thing. So it's basically like having the physical media. So I can still play Unreal Tournament. I can still make LAN parties, hand out. Like if I wanted to have an Unreal Tournament LAN party at my house and invite friends over, I can just copy that exe to a USB drive, hand it to them, and we could have a LAN party with Unreal Tournament. So yeah, Steam does have an offline mode, but that's not enough, because if Steam decides to pull their license for something, you will lose access to it. And that has happened. I get it. Steam are like the good guys, Gaben, Lord Gaben.
Oh, I was about to give him a good. I do think he's better for consumers than the others.
He is. Here's the thing. Valve is the best option, but they're not infallible. And there have been some hiccups along the way that show the cracks and shows what's going to happen, because Gabe ain't getting any younger. At some point, he's either going to give up Valve, or he's quite literally just going to die of old age. And something like, where's Valve going to go? It's not even a fear. I can feel it in my bones. When Gabe is no longer associated with Valve, regardless of the reason why, you are going to see Valve go the way of EA, Epic, all these other companies. I guarantee it, because even with him at the helm and those little bumps along the way, that's like a small glimpse into how you're on the edge of Steam being like everyone else. You're on that edge, and he's probably, I think, one of the few people keeping it, on the quote unquote good side, right?
But I think he understands. I think he does understand more than most his market. I think he does. He is one of the finest Okay. Maybe you'll be like, oh, no, not true. But I think he's a very, very good, shrewd business person. I mean, Bill Gates has kind of gone crazy, so stop being cool. And everyone's fed up with Microsoft. Like Mrs. Shvok says, Microsoft doesn't give a rip about their customers. That's so cute. So cute. That spend millions annually. They couldn't care less about consumers. That's true, because Microsoft, like, they're ridiculous. The fact that you have to pay a monthly fee for Microsoft Office, what the fuck is that about? That's ridiculous, A lot of support for GOG. That's true, Lady Miss. You're a Scumbag had a big long legal essay on infrastructure. I haven't read fully, but I will. The way it's organized, Steam, is different to Epic, though, unless they hired someone after him who centralizes everything. So like when we were in England, Julian actually did, I say, some work for Epic, but it was more backing up. It was crazy because the amount of stuff that Epic, they didn't do an inventory check. He said it was wild. Like they were closing down an office and they had all these developer kits and, you know, really like top tier graphics cards and all the rest of it. And he was like, seriously, just walk in, take one of these, you know, top level NVIDIA graphics cards and just walk out, and they wouldn't know. They had no idea. The whole thing was just so disorganized. And it surprises me that they were like that and so loose and just like didn't care. But
yeah,
it shocked me. He was like, you honestly, you know, it was eye-opening, but he said they just had so much shit there, stuff that we would pay arm and a leg for, and they just didn't care. And at that point you think, shouldn't they kind of have some kind of financial responsibility over that? I don't know. I would just run things a little better. But I think Gabe Newell has a very good understanding of his market, being, particularly in these economic times, if you like, people say, well, it's cheaper for me to stay at home and game. Fair point. You know, he appeals to, I say appeals, Steam, you know, people who spend a lot of time at home gaming, you know, like Asmongold or someone like that. He doesn't want to piss them off by making Steam super, super expensive. And I think that's part of the reason why they have ongoing sales all the time. And Steam is a lot easier to access. Like PlayStation Network is pretty shitty, locks you out. You can't change the geography. I've got Witcher 3 on Xbox. That's Microsoft have locked us out because they don't believe that Julian's who he is. So that my saves have gone. I've got to buy it again on PlayStation. I tried using Game Pass, lost my saves on that, so I've got to buy it again. Whereas with Steam, you can just plug in and play, and most of the time, it's pretty good. But sorry, that's my rant. I'm very pro Gaben.
Yeah, no, I look, and I'm not like against Gaben or anything, right? But again, you got to stay grounded. Nobody's perfect. No company is void of being infallible. And again, we've kind of, you know, seen some cracks here and there. Granted, at least in Valve's case, they do get patched, right? Both literally and metaphorically speaking.
But TF2,
you know, and even Gaben himself has said, because I remember, what was it, like the mid 2000s, earlier to mid 2000s. Something happened with Steam. I forgot what it was, but I do remember basically like the internet had a collective meltdown over it, and Gabe basically gave this quote of like, yeah, we basically learned, you know, you learn never piss off the internet or something like that. That's not an exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, yeah, we learned never piss off the internet, right? Know and understand your market. And that's why Valve makes banger after banger after. I mean, again, they're known for making banger games and working on quote unquote Valve time, right? So they make amazing games, but take forever to do it. But they don't always hit the money. Ricochet, anybody remember? Like,
oh my god,
there are some.
Oh my god, Ricochet. Yeah, but that was like a free look. Oh, that wasn't. That was a mod for Half-Life 1. Sorry,
it was, yeah, but there.
You're like, well, that failed. I'm like, it's not Concord, Shvok.
Yeah, not to that level. But they did it. Not everything they did was a complete success or was a resounding success. They had some failures in there. The difference is Valve takes the time to learn and understand why they failed and then correct that moving forward. Not all companies do that. They'll fail and then try to push their failure anyway, right? They just try to shove it down your throat. Valve, they're like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. And that's why that's part of the reason they're successful.
I don't know what the point of Ricochet was. Did they even put that much effort into it? It was kind of crap. You were just on.
It didn't really feel like it. No,
it wasn't Portal. No, exactly.
No.
That. Oh my god.
Well, like even still, Portal. If you talk to the original developers, they're like, "Yeah, this is some stupid side project we're working on that we thought nobody would like, and that's why we just included it for free." And they're like, "Yeah, this is just like kind of just some stupid, silly thing we've been doing on the side. If you buy the orange box, it's included. You know, if you like it, great. If not, fine too." But like, they didn't sit down and make Portal expecting it to be like a flagship title or some sort of like, you know, blockbuster hit, right? That was just not the case. But again, they learn from their mistakes, and it happens with they hit a winning formula. But like even in I think it was the Half-Life anniversary documentary or the Half-Life 2 one. I think it was the Half-Life one. just this past year that came out, where Gabe, there's a quote in there, and I even retweeted it or re-xed it. I don't know. I still don't know. You know what I'm talking about. But there's like a clip of Gabe when he was talking about game design, where he said, what was it? How did it go? It was like, waiting is just for a little while, but suck is forever. So basically, it's like you don't like all these games that ship in broken states, and then the companies try to go in after the fact and repair them. People are still going to remember, like, oh, that game does this thing sucks. Like even still till today, there's only 2 games that had a legitimate bounce back. But even still, and again, this proves my point that even still, if you talk to people present day about it, they're one of the first things, if they're not in the know, they'd be like, oh yeah, wasn't that awful? And that is No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. Both of those were disasters at release. But like nowadays, I actually I love Cyberpunk.
I was going to ask you about that because I said to Julian,
I treat Cyberpunk, no, I treat Cyberpunk like I do Fallout and Skyrim. Mod it until you break it. It's a great game to mod the hell out of and enjoy. And like after all the updates and the DLCs, there are actually a lot of like, I'm still finding stuff like just wandering around, Night City, like finding like actual events and triggering events and things that aren't like, a part of like the main story or even a side quest, like all these little things. Because it is actually pretty dense if you actually take the time and wander around. There's a lot of they did add, it wasn't like that at launch, but they did add a lot of content to it.
I still want more.
He's like, oh, it's still buggy and all this. I'm like, dude, has anybody played Skyrim or Fallout titles? You want to talk to me about buggy? Like, get out of here with that. Like, to me, that's just a stupid argument. Because they'll dunk on Cyberpunk, but then praise Fallout. And I'm like, are you void of reality here? Like, those games still to this day have major bugs, and some of them get worse the more you mod it. So I don't know. But yeah, my point is not every game, everybody wants their game for some reason to be the next redemption arc, or at least that's how it feels, where they're like, yeah, let's release the game in kind of a broken, unfinished state and we'll patch it later. I hate that model and that mentality, because actually, and again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with physical versus digital media. Once upon a time, because you'll hear people of a certain age group say, and it's like, oh yeah, it's such a boomer take, haha. Which I'm not even. I'm a elder millennial. I'm not a boomer. But even like millennials and elder millennials will say like, well, remember a time where and it's not what's that term? Not butterfly effect, but anyway, it's like we're not dreaming it up. There was legitimately a time where you would get a game and it was like in a playable, finished state when you bought it, because games had to ship on CD and it cost money to build, to write those CDs. And because there was it wasn't for gaming, but I was watching a mini doc on YouTube, and one of the guys that was being interviewed, it was actually, I think it was he was talking about them printing CDs for their telecom stuff or whatever, like driver CDs. And he was like, yeah, we had to get it right because a reprint would have sank the company. It would have been too expensive. They couldn't have done it. So like it had to be like, were they buggy and did they release patches? Yeah. But the games were still largely playable. They ran, there wasn't like content that was just flat out missing like you get today. They were still complete functional games. And, I mean, you had various websites back then where you'd go to download official game patches and stuff. Sure. Because there were still some things that did need patching, but it wasn't like make or break like it is today. Like if you there's so many games, go revert back to day one patch for Cyberpunk and let me know how your experience is, or No Man's Sky, or insert any other game title. Like, have fun. It's not playable. It's broken, like fundamentally broken. There's a difference between having some bugs and minor issues and being fundamentally broken on release.
Yeah, that's true. I think with Cyberpunk, they got very...
changed her name.
Yeah, I noticed
Sorry.
that. Mandela
Just saw
effect.
that.
Yeah. But Cyberpunk, I think they got overexcited. I think they rewrote the story a lot. Keanu Reeves got on board. They got overexcited, rushed the launch, and I think it's because it is fantastic now. I mean, I would still say it's not fully optimized, but I've had a lot of fun. It's a very attractive game. Modding your character is beyond fun. The photo mode, they keep adding to that.
Yeah.
And I still walk around like optimization still like, oh come on, like relatively new PC, you know. But I would say that when you compare it to like The Witcher 3, I don't know whether that's to your taste, but The Witcher 3 does still feel fuller. I think that Cyberpunk, when you walk around, like, yes, there's a lot going on, but I still think they could add more. I almost feel like they've moved on to the new Cyberpunk, which is Unreal Engine 5, the next title they're working on. Yeah, and I know, yeah, I know, and I thought Red Engine, it does look good. I think the back end is a bit messy for modding, but you do make it work, and the modding is very, very fun, if not highly sexy. I will just say, like, you go on there and everything's these, like, pose packs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys spend too much time doing this, okay? Like, I get one as a joke, but, like, anyway. But the modding's very diverse, let's just say that. But I do think Unreal, I'm interested to see how it looks, but I don't want it to lose its character. Like, Julian's playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and that's their own engine, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. And I respect that.
I don't know, actually. I have no idea.
No, I think it is their own engine. But the point is, I think it's a shame that they are moving Cyberpunk. But I think
it's a travesty.
but it's a shame that they haven't gone back. We had one DLC. I think maybe there was another in the pipeline. The world could be expanded as it is right now, which they did with the but I feel like they've done one EP and they're like, okay, well, can we try and forget maybe that part of history and move on to Cyberpunk 2, which is going to be fantastic. Like, I want to see more quests. I want to see more DLC because I will buy it. Yeah, I just think there could be more to it, but I think the world is fantastic. People liked the idea of it. The universe is great. I just want to see more of it.
Yeah, you know, I think for me, unless there's like a paradigm shift, or yeah, some sort of paradigm shift with Unreal 5, I'm still following. And this is unfortunate because I agree, because I do enjoy Cyberpunk now, at least, right? At release, not so much, but now I do with mods like yourself.
Yeah.
So unless there's some sort of like major paradigm shift, I'm not going to play Cyberpunk, because it goes along with if it's on Unreal Engine 5, I ain't going to touch it. You know, it just, that engine bastardizes games and just shows how lazy and complacent game studios have gotten in general to just use. They're not creative anymore. They don't develop their own purpose-built engine for their creative vision. And you can't, like, this proves, like, and again, software as a service, you can't make software one size fits all. You just can't. Systems will break. They become too complex, too bloated, too slow because of feature creep and all this other stuff. And like, you gotta trim the fat and understand that some people are not going to like that. But you know, at what point are you hitting diminishing returns with the current model, right? And I would say we're not only are we there, but we've been there. But yeah, like, actually, there's a great YouTube channel called Threat Interactive. You would never know it's a gaming optimization channel by the name. You'd think of like some cybersecurity channel, but it's called Threat Interactive. And the guy that runs the channel brilliantly breaks down not only the issues with Unreal Engine 5, but unoptimized games in general. And not only does it break, and here's the thing, and he's shown clips where like people try to, you know, basically defame him, like, or talk smack about him or whatever on like Reddit and all these other places, and other YouTubers, like quote unquote game developers, you know. And this guy, how I know he's the real deal is, one, I know the things he's talking, like the things he's talking about are real and are issues, but two, he brings the receipts. And here's the thing that I respect the most about him. He doesn't just criticize the current state of gaming and how awful the Unreal Engine 5 is, in those same videos, he also offers solutions. And that, I think, is what puts him way clear and above of all the little mongoloid redditors, all of the other YouTubers, you know, the little rats that talk crap about him. Those people just criticize for the sake of criticizing. He actually, he's like, here's the criticism, here's the receipts. He actually shows what he's talking about. And then he's like, and by the way, here's how you can fix it. And he actually shows it. That's what puts him, that's what, like, I'm like, this guy gets it. This guy, he's the real deal. Because, you know, if you're going to be in the industry in that capacity, you have to offer a solution. You can't just come out of the woodwork swinging, you know, without offering a solution, right? It's different. Like myself, like I'm not, I don't really have a technical solution. I'm not a game developer, but I still know and recognize the issues that face me. I can talk about those and offer what I think would be solutions for those. But he has that technical, he offers like that technical solution, like, hey, here's how you cut down on frame draw time. Here's how you cut down on, you know, having to re-render the same thing needlessly and spend so many CPU or GPU cycles or just computational cycles rendering something needlessly. And he shows, like, you know, how bloated the Lumen engine, you know, Lumen is, and which is Unreal Engine's form of RTX, and it sucks. And is baked in. I hate that. Because Unreal Engine has now shown other game devs, like, hey, just slap DLSS and fake frames on it and you're good to go. I'm still of the opinion, unless I'm trying to play on 4K with the highest possible level of fidelity, which originally was kind of the intent of DLSS. Like when that first came out, the whole intention was like, hey, for people who don't, even for people that did at the time have the bleeding edge, you know, Titan, or not Titan, when did that come out? It came out in the RTX 20 series, I think, was when DLSS was first introduced. So like if you didn't have like the, you know, the 2080 Ti, you know, 3080 Ti, 4090, but you want to play at 4K with high fidelity, it's like, okay, here's a solution for that. Here's a way you can do that. And again, this is where something that was meant to do one thing got used and abused to do something else. Now DLSS and nowadays fake frames is just a lazy cop-out, because game developers are going, we don't need to spend the time and money optimizing our game. Slap some DLSS and fake frames on it, baby. Like, it works. Like, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Because, and I made a YouTube video dunking on Stalker 2. I played Stalker 2 on stream, and on stream deleted the game and refunded it because it was so fucking terrible. It was dog. And I'm not, oh, it's fixed now. I don't care. I'm not playing it again. Again, Gabe Newell's famous quote in the Half-Life documentary, suck is forever. You shipped it in a broken state. You lost me as a customer. I'm not playing it. But not just because of the terrible performance, but A-Life was fundamentally broken. Which was a huge, a very critical thing. And did we lose the stream?
Oh, why?
Oh, okay. I saw it buffer. I didn't know if it was for other people, but A-Life was the thing in the original Stalker game that made it, because Stalker was kind of the original Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl was kind of revolutionary in the way that Fear was, because their AI system called A-Life, what it would do is, even if you left a zone, you completely left one zone area loaded in, map loaded in, or sorry, area that you were loaded in. So you leave that area and load into a new area of the map, of the total map. Even though that zone that you just left is now technically unloaded, it's actually still functional. And so like if you were to go back, like there may be a random mutant attack on a camp. Or maybe a group of bandits attacked a camp that you just saved. And still till this day, if I play the original Stalker, largely I can have somewhat different experiences every time I play through the game because of that A-Life feature, because the world around you never stops. It's always moving. You know, bandits are always wandering around the map. Packs of mutant dogs are always wandering around the map. So like, there is a time like I've played the hell out of Stalker Chernobyl, and like early last year I fired it up again to play through it, and for the first time ever there is a camp in the second loading zone that I usually always save the guys there, and I went progressed to the barkeep, and I came back to that zone, and a pack of mutant dogs destroyed that camp, killed everybody there, and that was the first time with as many playthroughs as I have in that game. That was the first time that's ever happened. I was like, oh. Well, that sucks. And the same thing in that same playthrough, there's a unique rifle that you can get from a bandit, and I think it's the third zone. And I couldn't find it. I was like, it's usually like the bandit usually spawns. I know roughly the area where he spawns, and I couldn't find it. Well, the bandit had wandered off to like the other side of the map and got killed. And I didn't know that until like I was already like basically done with the game and went back to that area for something. And I just happened to find his dead body, and the rifle was still. I'm like, that's where it was this whole time. Like, he was not at all where he usually wanted, because he just wanders around. And that was just fundamentally not in Stalker 2. But anyway, I refunded that game live on stream, and it was just such a fucking disaster, such a train wreck of a game. And I made a YouTube video about it, and people were talking, saying just ignorant, dumb shit. And one of the ones that really, just to go back to the console conversation, like clockwork, the Xbox, the console player's like, well, it runs good for me. You know why it runs good for you? Because basically, with the exception of titles that I could count on one hand, every game on console runs at sub 50 FPS, and the frame times are forever unstable. You don't, again, the Dunning-Kruger effect. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know that you're having a terrible experience. If you take that game and go play it on PC, you're going to have a completely on a high refresh rate monitor. You're going to have a different experience, and you're going to realize just how shitty your Xbox is. But these people, because all they play is Xbox, they have no idea. So to them, it's a great experience, because they've never experienced a better one. They don't know that. They're completely unaware, or remain willfully ignorant of the fact that they could be having a better experience, choose not to, and then say some ignorant crap like, oh, well, it runs good to me. No, it doesn't. It just doesn't.
Well, Euro Scumbag is of the view that Battlefield 2042 is the pinnacle of game design. That was disappointing. I thought it was a cool concept. And then I saw the reviews and I was like, nope. Osh has come into the chat. Osh993, welcome in. Base take, we like those. That's the whole point of the podcast. Adobe software runs better with less crashes and less processing power when cracked / offline. I can see that though. It takes up a lot of memory or processing power when it's connected to the fucking cloud to make sure you've got a subscription. As an ex-Redditor, Redditor stuck. I'm sorry, but yeah, Reddit can be toxic. Demo Gorgonzola says the problem with optimization nowadays is that studios, instead of optimizing the game for players, are optimizing their production workflow at the cost of user unfriendliness. I can see that. Immorphous says that's a shocking take. This is Schflop. Is this a description of London when you're talking about Stalker? Oh my god, yeah, that's true. Osh also says, I can't forget about Doom the Dark Ages. People say, oh, back in the day, we used to upgrade GPU to play the newest Doom or Quake. But back then, we didn't have optimized real 3D Doom that is suddenly replaced with lazy 3D non-optimized shit. We upgraded because new tech brought something new, not forced to upgrade for absolutely nothing. Euroscumbag says, ship 360 poverty box. Yes, indeed, I have one of them. Battlefield 2042, the pinnacle of entertainment software. I still don't like that game, and it worsens. Doom, really? Because Demo Gorgon made a good point about Doom.
Doom Dark Ages is the only Doom title till this day that I never bought and I did not play, because they fucked up. Their fuck up was doing what Unreal Engine 5... It's not Unreal Engine 5, but they did what Unreal Engine 5 does, and they baked in RTX, the same way that Lumen is baked into UE5.
Can you explain that for the... Because baked in, does that mean it's baked into the textures, so it's not being generated as your...
You can't turn off RTX. So you know how like other games that have RTX, ray tracing?
Yeah.
You can turn it on or off, right? Like Cyberpunk, you can turn ray tracing off. You don't have to use it. You can't turn it off in Doom Dark Ages. It's there, and it's just there. I think there's mods and ways now that you can strip it out and turn it off. I think modders fixed it, as they usually do. But I still refuse to touch it. And this whole thing of like, I feel about Doom Dark Ages the way other people feel about Doom 3.
If I got it as a gift,
To me, it's not a Doom game.
I'd refuse to take it.
Why?
You've insulted me.
Like, to me, Doom Dark Ages, it's not a Doom game. It has parrying baked in RTX. It's in some ways been like modders had to make a mod so that you could turn off that stupid slow-mo parrying bullshit they put in it. So to me, Doom Dark Ages is how other people see Doom 3. It's not a Doom game to me. I'm just like, yeah, to me, the most recent Doom game is Doom Eternal still. And they I don't know. In my opinion, they fucked up with Dark Ages. I'm a huge Doom fan. Been so since the very first one, Doom and Quake. But yeah, they fucked up with that one in the same way. As much as I love Quake, they fucked up with Quake Champions. Like, till this day, right now, more people actively play Quake Live than do Champions, and there's a reason for that. And like fucking what's his name? Tim. Dude, that guy. Tim Wiltz. Oh, well, originally, when we're talking about the new Quake, you're going to have abilities anyway, and we just cut it out. And so now we made a game that has those abilities. Like, yeah, dude, you may have been considering that however many years ago. I'm guessing there's a reason you cut it out, though. Sorry, abilities don't belong in Quake. I'm so sick of ability shooters and battle royales and extraction slop. I'm fucking sick. Everybody wants to be the next, Fortnite or Apex Legends. Everybody wants to be the next Escape from Tarkov. Like, fucking stop, man. Oh God, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
I think Mrs. Shvok needs to deliver you some paracetamol, ibuprofen at this point.
Dude, it's serious, man.
RTX lighting, its chief purpose is to increase system requirements 10 times for no real reason, because most lighting
for minimal gain
could be baked into. Yeah, that's bad. That's the opposite of optimization. Could be baked into light maps like in good old HL2. Yes, without noticeable reduction in quality. Yes, very true. Alien Isolation, Euroscumbag, I've not played yet. I've heard good things. Look better than all the modern slop today. Shvok, have you talked about the genius game designer Rel? And I don't know why. Osh is saying best of luck. I'm not sure. But yeah. Anyway, that's chat.
Oh my God.
Who is Rel?
So 2 things.
Gluten-free.
Now I am going to get a migraine. Thanks, Euro. I am going to get a migraine. So Rel has to do with a beloved game of mine called PlanetSide 2. I'll get into, oh boy, do I have some things to say about PlanetSide. But like on the graphics thing, like, so we have games like, Doom Dark Ages with the baked in RTX, Unreal Engine 5 engine, and all the games that are built on that. We're regressing in visual fidelity. We're like going back in visual fidelity while the computational requirements continue to increase. And okay, and again, the same people in that YouTube video I made about Stalker are like, just get a better computer, Shvok.
Oh my God.
And I'm not saying this to brag or to gloat. I'm just saying this to make a point. At the time that I played Stalker 2, I had a 13700K voltage tuned with tuned memory and an RTX 4080 that was also tuned. I had a great system. The only reason I had a 4080 is because I couldn't get a 4090. They just were forever out of stock. My computer that I'm on right now is an AMD 9800X3D tuned, voltage tuned, multiplier tuned, tuned memory, and an RTX 5090. Right now I've got the best hardware that money can buy. And these games still run like ass.
Yeah.
For minimal visual fidelity. And anybody who follows me in my streams knows that every year in October, one of the games that I play every year during October is Fear. I love the original Fear. That game has better visuals, better AI programming, just better everything than a lot of AAA games that have been released current day. That game has has reflections and shadows, and they're not even real time. Like games nowadays have RTX, real time path ray tracing, and you still can't make a reflection of your main character in a mirror.
Quake 3
Like
Arena
if you notice
did.
in modern AAA titles, mirrors are kind of like grayed out. Like you
Quake
don't actually
3 Arena. Oh, the cornbread's
you
coming.
don't actually have reflections. Whereas in Fear, like whether it's a puddle on the ground or a mirror that you walk by, you can see your reflection of Point Man. And Doom 3, same thing. Miss Shvok is here. And same thing in Doom 3. Like in the beginning of Doom 3, if you go into, or any time you go into the bathrooms with a mirror, you can see Doom Guy, the Doom Marine. Well, if you follow lore, he's not the Doom Guy, he's Doom Marine. But you can see the Doom Marine, and you can switch weapons, turn your flashlight on or off, and it happens in real time, even though it's not actually in real time. But developers back then had to work within certain constraints and used certain methods and tricks to pull these things off that make you think it's real time, even though it's actually not. Some of them are like static meshes, other things that are like but I'm like, if these guys could do it then, why can't we do it now? And even again, somebody like me who has literally the best hardware money can buy, and it's been optimized and tuned, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying it to really drive the point home that like even people who do have the bleeding edge hardware, this shit still doesn't run good. And I'm not playing at 4K either, by the way. I have a high refresh rate 1440p monitor. So I'm not even trying to play at 4K. I'm just playing my games at 1440p native. I should be able to play games at 1440p native with the specs that I have. But these game companies, they're like
yeah, the intensity. Osh says,
but yeah, Rel. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. The chat is popping with your based takes. Osh says, "Prey. I need to play Prey and finish Stray. That was good. Anyway, Prey has an amazing.
Wait, which Prey?
2017 has an amazing atmosphere. Doom 2016 has mind-blowing details. That's true. Their own excuse is real-time body parts being ripped correctly. I enjoyed 2016. Lady Miss Dragon says Quake Champions was okay, but I also feel like there might have been a reason it went free to play. I never bothered playing it within months of release. There's a number of reasons why it has little more than a cult following. Yeah, I just stuck with Quake Live. Euro Scumbag. The human eye cannot see above 60 FPS. Fact checked by British Patriots. Keep saying your name wrong. I'm sorry. Razruhov. RTX 5090 shunt modded. And we have a first time chatter.
No, not shunt modded.
Not shunt. Okay. Vector
no, it's
Victor.
not shunt modded, but I've done other stuff to it. To basically, I tweaked the power delivery so that it can maintain higher clocks for longer. That sort of like I didn't shunt mod it or anything. I probably won't do that until I give it its own water block, because I do have a custom water loop, but the only thing that's cooled right now is my 9800X 3D. I still have the stock, the NVIDIA cooler, since it's a Founders Edition on it. So I just tweak the voltages and the timings so that it can maintain high clocks for longer. But I'll probably shunt mod when I get a water block for it and put some liquid metal on there. So anyway, continue.
With new chatter, first time chatter, Vector Victor, welcome to the stream or rant, as we like to. As it's turned out. Osh says, I feel kind of lucky I own a fully modified PS3. So many PS2 and PS3 games to play that can run natively on the PS. I'll forever make the joke that when I see old games with real-time reflections from 2005. Yeah, so Quake 3, I don't know why there's hate on gluten-free. Quake 3 Arena
they are good.
had reflections. And that was pretty groundbreaking at the time. I thought it really smooth, really cool. And this is the thing, Cyberpunk, unless I've not enabled something, reflections don't work in Cyberpunk.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Ooh.
You're right, they don't.
Doesn't help with the immersion.
Who was it that mentioned Quake Champions going free to play not long after it's released?
Lady Miss Dragon.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and that's Shvok. Shvok what?
Most gluten-free is trash, but if it's done right, you never. Yeah, that's true.
No, that's absolutely true, because Miss Shvok, she has a genetic celiac, which means it's like
Mm.
It's more than just an allergy. Like it can send her to the hospital. But like how some people are allergic to peanuts. Um, and so she had to learn recipes that were gluten free. And yeah, most gluten free stuff it's like the texture's different. It tastes like chalk. It's bland. It's just awful. But when done right, you legitimately, if I handed somebody she makes these like cookies that I love. They're called Brookies. It's kind of like a cross between a brownie and a cookie. They're like soft and gooey, but also a cookie, and they're the most amazing, delicious thing ever. If I handed that to somebody and was like, "Hey, try this. Let me know what you think," and then told them, "By the way, that's gluten free," I guarantee you they wouldn't believe me. They're like the pasta. She makes homemade pasta because we like pasta, but again, the whole gluten free thing. Her homemade pasta tastes like normal. Like you wouldn't know the difference. You really wouldn't know the difference. You won't, because I'm very sensitive to that. And there's a lot, like, I even told her, I'm like, you can do gluten free. I'll eat the normal stuff because it tastes like shit. And she's like, no. And no, yeah, no, yeah. With the proper care, yeah, it's good. Anyway,
We went off on a gluten.
Shvok. Yeah, that was way off topic. Gaming, gluten free. Anyway,
Talking about reflections. We
reflections.
wanted.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like even in Cyberpunk, even if you turn on path ray tracing, you get some reflections. Like if you're driving a car, like the reflections of the lights of the buildings and stuff, you get that. But like, yeah, you don't actually get full character reflections, even with path tracing turned on. And again, these games in the early 2000s could pull it off. Why can't we do it now? Like developers are creatively they're creatively bankrupt. Like Rel, by the way. There's your segue into Rel, because I saw Euro mention Rel again. So there is a game, PlanetSide 2. I was a huge PlanetSide player, big PlanetSide fan, loved it. I love PlanetSide. Not perfect, but it is what it is. And I was one of those people, like, I was pretty average when I started playing PlanetSide, because I played in the beta in, what was that, 2012? And the game launched. And I was pretty average. Like, I wasn't good. And then I started playing with people who were really good and like really taught me the game. Like, got me to a point where I understood the game. And I, like, within the span of a week, went from being very average to like a really good player. Like, I think now if you check on my PS2 stats, like, I don't have a single character that's under a 4 KD average in PlanetSide.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, since it's being discussed in the stream chat, that's why Shvok's married.
Why?
Because of those stats.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, my stats speak for themselves. Yeah,
Excellent.
like I don't think I have a single.
Use a gun.
Again, great timing on that soundbite. But yeah, I went from being a very average, like basically a shitter, like, and even still, I wouldn't have considered myself a shitter, and here's why. Because shitter is the modern day term for what we back in the day would call a scrub or a noob, but not in the term of like, oh, you're new to the game, like a noob in the derogatory sense, in that you are so unaware of how awful you are and you think you're the best thing ever. And you refuse to get better. So I was like I knew I was bad, and I didn't act like I was that good, because I knew I was like, yeah, I'm a bad player, but I didn't know how to improve. So I had somebody teach me the game, and then after that I fell in love with PlanetSide, because I just started like destroying people in PlanetSide. And in a game where the average KD was like just under 1, it was like 0.8 or something like that, and I was at like a 0.9 to a 1, and I went to 4 KD, and I was like destroying people, single-handedly taking points, like able to do things on my own, solo things. And I just fell in love with the game, and I genuinely enjoyed PlanetSide. Met a lot of really cool people. All the people that I'm friends with on Discord, they're all from PlanetSide. So I have a lot of my friends and competitive people that I play with in Battlefield today. They're all PlanetSide players. Yeah, I got to a point where I was actually competitive, like in PlanetSide, and or I could at least compete with the other talent players in the game and hold my own. And the game, sure, yes, it had issues. It was not perfect, but I still enjoyed it. And that was back when it was owned by Sony Online Entertainment. And I think the primary game designer at the time was Matthew Higbee, a guy by the name of Higbee. So over time, SOE goes away, sells off the PlanetSide 2 IP, intellectual property, not the IP address of it, but the intellectual property. Higbee goes away, moves on to other things. I don't know what he moved on to some other I think he has his own game studio now or something. And enter in the era of Rel. Rel was nothing more than a slightly above average YouTuber who had some absolutely dumb takes when it came to PlanetSide, and was basically like a spreadsheet goblin with PlanetSide. And you cannot design a game like PlanetSide or Battlefield with you cannot balance a game with spreadsheets. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. But he was like, oh, on paper, this gun is this many BTK, bullets to kill, at this, fire rate or RPM, whatever. He made videos about PlanetSide, okay? That's the point. And they were whatever. Somehow, which shows anything is either one or two things is true. Either it is true that anything is possible, or we're living in a fucking simulation, because this motherfucker somehow goes from being a barely above average YouTuber making these ridiculous YouTube videos that showcase his skill gap in a game that he's making the videos about. He goes from that to being the game's lead game designer. Oh, Jesus Christ. The era of Rel is why Planets. Actually, I'm curious right now. Let's see, Steam charts, PlanetSide 2. And this game's been around since 2012, by the way. The game just needs to die. There's 550 active players as of this moment. The game used to at least have a few thousand. It used to average between like 2,000-3,000 players, roughly. And so, to anybody who's not familiar with PlanetSide 2, it's a massive, large-scale, persistent battle. It's basically like if Battlefield were done on an entire continent and not just a single map, and that the battle was persistent. There were no lobbies, there were no anything. It's just you log it. It's kind of like playing in an MMORPG. You log into the server or the realm or whatever, for people who are familiar with MMORPGs, and you play. Like, it's persistent. There are no lobbies, there's no queues, there's no nothing. You just log in and you play. And the reason that's relevant, just to kind of catch people up, so that's kind of the basis of how PS2 PlanetSide 2 worked. So Battlefield, but larger scale, couple thousand concurrent players at any given time. Something's always happening. And one of the best things that I loved about PlanetSide was that because of how the game was and the design of it, every time you logged in, you could have a different experience. I loved that. That was something that was very unique to PlanetSide 2. I've not had anything close to that in any other game, not even Battlefield 6. If I log into Battlefield 6 right now, I know roughly the experience that I'm going to have. So Rel came in, got the title and job of lead game designer. Again, either anything is really possible or we're living in a simulation, and basically starts to destroy the game through his vision of what PlanetSide should look like and how things should be balanced to make things, and this is where I start to get pissed off, to make things more strategic and more so one of the first major changes that he did to the game was, I think it was the escalations patch, where he fundamentally changed one of the continents and added in what became known. It became a meme in the game called the Rel Storms. So there were multiple continents which functioned as the maps. So you had your server, right? So for people who are familiar with MMORPGs and how that works, you had your server that you log into. Then which would be an MMO in like MMORPG terms, that would be like your realm that you logged into or whatever. And then once you're logged in, there were 3 continents that you could choose from to play on, and you could jump from one continent to another at will. There were, again, persistent battles. There was always something happening across all the continents. You had Endar, Hassan, Esamir, and Esamir is the one that he changed. It was the snow continent, and he added these like storms that like migrated around the map, and like it was supposed to be like make the game more immersive and make you play different, and it just became a fucking meme because it was a poorly conceived idea and it was even more poorly executed. And like I said, it became a meme. The player base started calling it the Rel Storms. I don't even remember the actual name of these storms, like, because I just know it as the Rel Storms. I don't remember what they were actually called. And then he further destroyed Esamir by taking out, so there are these, every continent had at least some form of a base called a biodome. And I love, oh man, biodome farms were, oh, that was great. I love me a good biodome farm. And he took them out of Esamir and replaced it with these bastardized underground bases that were confusing to navigate unless you really, really knew the game. Or confusing to navigate at first, I should say. They were just completely bastardized. He tore up the continent, made all these changes that no one was asking for, and over time just eroded the game. And so, mind you, the game went from like 2,000 to 3,000 players, concurrent players, give or take, at any given, even on off hours, right? That's not even peak hours. Just on off hours, it could be 2,000 to 3,000 people playing at any given time concurrently. And now there's only, like I said earlier, there's 550 players as of right now if you go to Steam charts and look up PlanetSide 2. And those sub 550 to 800 players that are left are all the idiots that were on Reddit and in the official PlanetSide 2 forums talking about how Rel saved the game. He saved PlanetSide. Well, Rel used to say that the numbers speak for themselves. And yeah, Rel, yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Because we went from having a couple thousand concurrent players to now a few hundred concurrent players. So yeah, you destroyed it. Thanks for that, by the way. Amongst other things that they did, there was a point in time where PlanetSide 2, the code base, was merged because it was built for PC, came out on PC, but later ported over to PlayStation 2. So you had PS2 on the PS2. And when they did that, they merged certain parts of the code base. And when they did that, they broke the sound. The game actually had functional sound before that point in time. After that point in time, like, the sound, and still till this day, has just been fundamentally broken. Rel also destroyed the heavy assault class in the game because he catered to, again, these people, these scrubs, these shitters. He took away, certain types of armor that were in the game because it wasn't, well, I forgot, it wasn't balanced or fair or something, or whatever dumb shit term he was trying to use. I don't even remember. But he destroyed the heavy assault class because people couldn't be bothered to understand how the game worked and position themselves or learn how to take fights that favored them. So these were the players who would just run up on a heavy assault class, go toe to toe with them. They would pop their overshield and win a fight. Like, yeah, dumbass. Like, that's what's going to happen. You don't even have to be a talented player to make that happen. Like, if you saw a heavy assault, there was a way to engage people that favored you. And I talked about this way earlier, right? When I was talking about that quote from Rafa when he was like, live to fight again. Like, understand the game you're playing, how it works, the mechanics. Understand when an engagement doesn't favor you, know when to back away from it and re-engage on your own terms and win the fight. And so yeah, like Rel he doesn't understand game development, didn't actually understand PlanetSide outside of looking at numbers on a spreadsheet, and it destroyed the game. And so yeah, Rel, the numbers do speak for themselves. There's 500 people playing a game that you destroyed. And by the way, he's no longer a part of PlanetSide. He pulled the pin on the hand grenade and then jump shipped, and now he's doing some other. I don't even. He's working on like a tabletop game now. And to show you the size of this man's head, he thinks that his tabletop game will rival and destroy Dungeons and Dragons and its player base. Good luck with that, dude.
It's been 13 minutes of the rail run, but I think for your health, Shvok, and my stomach,
I have a headache just thinking about that. Sorry.
Oh, hello. I don't know if I've chatted here before, but been lurking and enjoying the conversation. Haggis but muted. Doesn't say you're a new chatter. You might have been here before, but we. You're welcome, Shvok. I have to make dinner. But this has gone very well. Shvok's like, I thought this was going on for several hours.
I have more to say.
Yes, more to say, but we can save that for next time. We're not sure.
Yes.
We'll have to discuss when next time will be. But I think this has gone well. Chat was popping. We had some good. Maybe not for Shvok's blood pressure, but they were good conversations.
That was bad for my blood pressure.
That was bad. But yeah, we've got lots of chatters, lots of base takes.
A bold claim.
A bold claim. We've had a rant about Rel, this person who I've just learned about. But yeah, thank you. I feel like I've cut off your thing, but I haven't served any.
No, you're good.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thought we'd try out something different. I would try it. I think we'll definitely do it again. It's a question of when. I'll upload this onto YouTube when you're playing on console, or whatever takes your fancy. I'm gonna have to figure out who I could trade into.
Well, I will say before you do that, I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I'd love to do this again. So thank you to everybody. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, of course. Well, there will. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I don't like how they've redesigned this raid layout. It's so annoying. Shvok talks, Rosie listens. Yep. Oh man.
Sorry.
Shvok rants. Fine. Don't know who to bring. Do you have any suggestions, Shvok? Any? Oh, I think you muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did. I'm trying to look and see who's on that I know personally. You're not on.
Thanks for the stream.
No, I don't see anybody streaming that I know personally that I'd be like, yeah, go raid this person. Yeah, these are all just other like generic streamers. So yeah, I don't have anybody today. Sorry.
No worries. I'm gonna give Newcomb Quad 9 raid.
Yeah.
Playing Dawn of Dark Crusade. Okay, thank you for the stream. Thank you everyone for being Oh, well, you said it too late now, Lady Miss. Thank you very much, everyone, and we will.
Peace.